Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle, where you get Dean and Rob talking about everything business and marketing and a bunch of different stuff. Today we have our guest Aarti. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you. From what I looked at, it looks like you do a ton inside of the AI automation area. Looks like you have a company that does AI for leads. Tell us about you. Tell us about what you do and kind of give us some insight there.
Absolutely. So I've been building software products for more than 15 years now. And last year, I decided to stop working for someone else and started my own business. And then as soon as I started, doing my own thing, I realized, gosh, I am wearing so many hats. I am the salesperson. I'm also the marketing person. I'm also the head of everything else that goes in my business. And it could have been a road to burnout sooner than I would realize. So, with the help of I was able to offload many of the things off of my plate. So, I wasn't going to build a business that I was going to hate. And the good thing about what I do is I also help other entrepreneurs now build their businesses in a way so they don't grow to hate it either. And the way we do it is we help audit their business and we help them realize where are their workflows that they are doing manually today, where is the room for automation, and if they are doing it more than once, let's just sit down and see where the bottlenecks are, and then we head down first with the biggest bottleneck, and then we see where the room to delegate is. If you were to delegate, would you hire another person to do it, or is there a tool that we can use to automate the whole thing? So that's my north star. I want everybody to live the life of freedom, freedom of time, money, and location. And that's what I want in my life, and that's what I'm helping other business owners achieve too.
So in the world of business, you have only so much time and you have almost only so much money. And that's just the two gaps that end up either holding you back or making you kind of pivot to go completely out. And I'm a kind of quote Dan Martell, I think, that talked about that for buying back your time and doing all
Yes.
that stuff. So you have that whole piece in there, but AI has changed that piece. And I was thinking about this the other day, and when I saw that you were on the calendar for today last night, I was like, I'm going to open this can of worms. It used to be where you talked about the very first thing you had to do was get an assistant to be able to do all these different things, and you'd have this EA or executive assistant inside of there or admin assistant, however you look at it. That world's changed.
We get allergies.
Allergies. So that world is absolutely changed 100%, because what you used to go grab a person for, you could put AI in place to do a lot of those pieces. And in your opinion, where do you think that's all changed, and what are you kind of seeing, and do you agree, and have you kind of explored that some?
I love that you quoted him because he is also part of a big influence on how I run things. And um, I've just learned so much from Dan already. So I love that we're starting with that. Um, I agree and also disagree, and I'll share both sides of the story. So anything so, if I've learned anything being in the business and also helping other business owners do what I want to do and what they are doing today, um, everybody goes through one limiting belief, and they have a challenge. They hate to delegate, they just cannot do it. But if you don't know how to delegate, then how are you the CEO of your business? Because you're everywhere. And as a CEO of your business, your job is to not just do the thing, but also build the systems in a way where you're also leading by example. That's how you help your team step up when you're not there. And that's how you also help your business continue to run when you're out on a vacation, because you're going to need that to avoid burnout. So it's a mindset first. Are you ready to delegate? Um, that's where Dan Martell's theory and buy back your time principle comes in, which I love, by the way, and I'm a huge supporter of it. So when you're ready to delegate, so you have mastered the first step, then do you go hire someone else to do it, or you look for a tool or an automation and a system that you will put in place, which will do the thing that you want your assistant to do. So before any of that comes, and after you have had the mindset of delegation, then the second critical piece that's missing in majority of businesses is that they don't have any SOP. They have no internal training in place. And guess what happens? If you don't have an SOP or a training document, how are you going to train an assistant to do their job?
You're not.
And
No.
right, and to do it well. And if you hired them, you're also have to pay their salary before you get your salary from your business. And guess what? Without a training, they're going to mess up, and then you're going to be mad at them, but it's your fault because the system did not even exist before you hired them. So first, SOP has to exist before you hire someone or delegate it to someone. And then from there, yes, many of the things that an executive assistant can do for you, many of the things our automations can also do for you.
Well, and that's where automation has really kind of taken over. If you look at Dan Martell's book, and I think he needs to write another one, because it's one of those things to where AI can manage the inbox. So the role of that EA, that assistant side, is being able to set those tools up so that it can go through and run it. So it has that manual person behind the scenes doing it, but you can speed up your processes.
Absolutely.
AI is I think every single business owner should have some sort of AI or multiple pieces of AI. Maybe one day I'll release out the AI that I have that makes all the AIs talk to one another, that they start
Yes.
arguing with each other. I've had a couple requests come across for that, and I'm like, I don't even know if I want to open that can of worms. But I mean, it's one of those things to where you can set up processes in place. Now, for us as a company, we use AI. We couldn't do the coaching we do without it, and how we kind of process through the amounts of data that we do. Marketers use it all the time. Our listings engine uses AI to a point to be able to go out and be able to get them listed on all the different networks. There's AI built into that, but you have to remember at the end of the day that AI has been around for years. We just reboxed it and repackaged it as something a little bit sexy as once we got these new language models that came out, because technology finally caught up to the hardware that was out in the 90s or early 2000s, that it could handle all this stuff. We just didn't have the software to be able to compete it, or to be able
Absolutely.
to have it in there, because hardware is always before software. It takes that a team of engineers to go through, which, I mean, inside of the engineers, I'm sure you've seen this as well. Coming from that background, you either have an engineer who's adapting to the AI that's coming out, or you have one that's fighting it. And you have that inside of business owners as well. A lot of our listeners are small business owners. They're busy. They're running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah.
For your AI software, or how do you work with multiple different software? Or did you build one software that kind of does a lot of this?
I do work with multiple tools. Yes, that's
Okay,
how we
that's
do
what I
the
thought. But
integrations. Yes.
and then I was like, maybe I read that wrong, and maybe that you developed your own that kind of puts it all in one box. And
We may go there in maybe 12 months from now. I mean, SaaSes have existed for years and years and years. And now, with the age of AI, and in 2025, where it's basically going to look like, well, AI first SaaS, right? So we're going to go that route. But we want to build the momentum first. And it's also, why do you have to reinvent the wheel today before you get to that level where you have sort of exhausted your options? And I'm a huge proponent of, you have to get your hands dirty and learn from lots of other people, other things, other experiences, because that just primes you I've built software products for a very, very long time. Um, and now with AI, we're just building them faster. So we're gonna go that route. We're just not there yet in 6 to 12 months.
Well, we got to ask the question of why we don't have like Chat GPT inside of some of our, writing descriptions and everything. I said, because if we integrated into it, it wouldn't be where you wanted it because we'd have to keep up to it. We'd have to increase our price enough right now. And it's moving at a speed that we could never keep up with it.
Exactly.
And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, the API is changing so damn fast on it that you got to let it kind of get. I'm waiting to find out to be able to build software on some of these things until it starts to get some normalcy inside of there. Because right now, you'd have to have a budget that most of us don't have to be able to keep up with.
Yeah, and I love the way you put it, Rob, because one of the things that, I mean, every time a Chat GPT update comes in, do you see how many startups get killed instantly? Right? So
A ton.
it's changing so fast, and I wake up and I feel so blessed. Like, this is the freaking age of technology we're living in. This is good. And for anybody who sort of shies away, I just tell them there are two things. Either you have a limiting belief that your business is not capable of getting there, so you just have to get out of your own way. Or second, you have a knowledge gap that we can sit down and I can help you fill. And I mean, again, why walk when you can fly?
Well, and there's people with bigger budgets that you can advise them to go over and do and teach them and help them set that stuff up. And they'll be a lot better off than having it inside of your own until it gets to that certain point of normalcy. And we haven't hit that. I mean, if you rewind me back into, the 90s of working at HP, AOL, and all the different companies I got to work with, I compared this to the times that we were going at the same speed of, going from the 14.4 modems to the 36.6 to 56K. Then there was a version of 56K. And then I got told I was wrong the other day. DSL came out before cable. So yes, DSL and then cable. But we moved so fast. And then we saw this bubble get really big. And then we saw it pop for the dot-com bubble around 2000. And Y2K was kind of part of that. The adoption, everything kind of had to get that normalcy to where it brings it out. It's no different than I was working with one of my friends that has a venture capital group, and we were talking about the normalcy. It's no different than the stock market. The stock market has to correct itself. So until we see that correction inside of software, you have to utilize the tools that are out there before you start building on those tools. So as a business owner, most businesses don't know where to turn to be able to start that process. But Dean, you got kicked back in the 70s and the 80s for bringing automation into the engineering world?
Oh, yeah. I used to do machine cells, and a lot of people really resisted. Anytime you have a technology improvement, you have a resistance from customers, from the owners, from whoever. And
people thinking their jobs are going to be replaced.
Right. And what they realize is that but what you're doing, Artie, is you're allowing the business owners to do the things that they love to do, not the day-to-day activities, because that's the problem with most. Like we went through a titration process for in the medical field. Where, you see the little going through the different test tubes, and they're going, well, you're taking away my job. And then the technicians go, oh, we don't have to do all that physical work anymore. Now I get to use my brain and use what I really want to be doing. And it sounds to me like that's kind of where that's a different reality to it, but it's the same results. And so you have to wait for that plateau to happen a little bit. Is that kind of where you're at with that process in your mind too?
Yes, I love where this is going. So, since you referred, Rob, Dan Martell's book, there's the drip metrics that he teaches people. I actually use the same drip matrix to help people assess where and what they should automate. So if you look at the drip matrix, there are 4 quadrants. You go from left to right are the tasks that don't print you money, but they give you energy. You go from bottom to top, there are the tasks that print you money, they may not give you a lot of energy, right? So the right of the two quadrants, this is where you, as a human being, as a CEO of the business, you get personal development, self improvement from, and the tasks that give you energy, and they also print you money. So you do not want to automate those two quadrants. So working out, go run, go do strength training, go run 13 milers. That's what you need to do. Play with your kids. They give you energy. They don't print you money, but they make you a better person who wakes up, does hard things every day, and you also are capable of making harder decisions in your business. And then the upper right corner quadrant, which is the production quadrant, which is you do a phenomenal job as a CEO because you're good at those things, and they also print you money. So nobody needs to do that. You are the person who needs to do those tasks. If you look at the left two quadrants, the bottom and the upper one, those are the tasks that you either need to delegate or you need to find a replacement for you. So that's where automations happen. Now, when you start to hire someone to delegate those tasks, that's exactly what you talked about, Dean. Then you go ask your team members, are these the tasks that they are good at and they also bring them energy? If yes, they're the right person to delegate to. But if they don't, these are the tasks that don't light up your staff, guess what? They're not gonna be good at it because it's gonna suck their energy out. So
Yes.
you don't want to delegate to them. At that point, you go find a tool. For example, when I work with local businesses and they have lots of inbound calls, I install AI voice agents, because who wants to sit at the front desk and for the 100th time in a day, they want to answer, what are your office hours? No, nobody lights up from answering those questions. So that's exactly what you talked about, Dean, is to find higher leverage tasks for your staff, which helps them light up, and it also helps them on a personal journey that they are on, that they become more to attract more. So that's why automating the task that doesn't light up your staff is where we come in, and we automate the inbound voice calling, the lead qualification, the lead nurturing part of it, which is where email marketing automations come in, and the outbound calling, which is many local businesses end up doing with their list of leads who are going cold and nobody's reaching out to them. And when in real estate, you have to go talk to people. Hey, are you by any chance looking to sell your house? That's a perfect job AI outbound caller can do. And your staff now has time on their calendar to pick up the calls where they're ready to close the deals, not qualify them. So where is the task that prints you money? That's where your staff and your actions should be focused on.
Now, when you're looking at all this and you're looking at all these quadrants and everything inside of there, what do you think the top 5 things are that someone can automate inside of the business that would be a typical business owner?
I love that question. Yes. So anything that generates more traffic for your website, so lead gen. So anything that brings in more traffic to your website, no human should be sitting down and doing it. I think we're at the technology. We have all the tools available. We can integrate via APIs, just like you mentioned, Rob. That can be 100% automated. Now, second problem I see and where the leaks happen is many businesses have enough leads, but they are not capturing them. So what happens when they come to your website? Do you have a capture mechanism there? If you capture, then you know if it's a lead generation problem or capture problem. That second part can also be automated. The third part is when you're capturing them, who's sitting down and qualifying them? That can be automated as well via voice, via chat, via email as well. That's number 3. Number 4 is, how are you nurturing those? So remember, only 3% of your market is ready to buy today, 97% are not. So those 3%, some of them you'll close based on your conversion rate. But what are you doing with the rest of the 97% who is not ready today, but they could be tomorrow or 6 months from now? So that's what.
Inside of sales, do you know what that's called for that 3%?
What?
It's called lay me downs. So
Yes,
they're easy. They're the ones that just close no matter what. Didn't have to try. Didn't have to do anything.
exactly.
So when I used to coach sales teams, and when I'd coach the sales teams, those were lay me downs. So if you were just going to take the lay me downs, some people could survive on that 3% mark. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to get out of that and actually do really well inside of sales, then you had to go into the other world to be able to start doing that. Sorry for interrupting you. My brain just
No. So this is the term, interestingly, I have not heard yet. So I'm glad to have that in my back pocket now. But the so in that 3%, so the good news is they are problem aware, and they're also solution aware, and they also see you as the problem solver in their world. So that's why those 3% are ready to buy from you. So for the 97%, as we were talking, it would be lead nurturing, which could also be put on autopilot via email marketing automations, right? So those are the four I would put at the top, because if you solve that in your business, you're generating enough leads, you're also capturing them, you're not leaking them, and then you also have a nurturing process in place, which whenever that time comes, when it's a good time for us to pair up, they're going to pick up a call, and I'm going to be ready to close them then. So that's four. Now fifth is lot of things in those four buckets happen with content, and that's, as you must know already, it would be top of the funnel, middle, and the bottom of the funnel. All that content generation can also be automated with AI. So these are the five things that any business needs on a daily basis, and once you put them on autopilot, you can easily save many hours on a weekly basis.
You can. There's a lot that's to that and what it is. And once those AIs get to know you, it can definitely go out there. So, like if we look at our software for the listings engine, for example, it would take you. We work with over 1,000 networks. I don't even know how much time that would take you to fill out a business profile in 1,000. Fill it out one time, goes out. It makes those decisions for you for being able to adjust your categories, but make sure you're consistent. So probably one of the biggest things I've seen inside of AI and with where technology could come in as a whole to be able to help a business owners to speed up the process and improve consistency. So when you improve consistency inside of marketing, it makes it a lot better. And then also the other piece is repurposing. So when you're talking about the world of marketing, you want to be able to repurpose and get the most out of that content you possibly can, no matter if you wrote the blog, if you talked to AI to be able to write that blog for you, or if you created a video and you want to be able to create information off of it. There's so much you can do for it, and everything is connected. So have you watched any of our videos before for the podcast?
I have quite a few.
Did you watch the tree concept?
No, maybe not that one. Was it recent or an old one?
It would have been pretty recent, I think. So we look at everything as kind of a marketing as a tree for how we describe what the ecosystem looks like now. So the very bottom, you have your, all your root base of that tree. That's going to be all your citations, your profiles that you have, and all the stuff that builds your business. That's your business data as well. So that's your business name, your phone number, your address, your social media links, your descriptions, all that stuff sits at the bottom root piece of that tree. Then you have your tree trunk, which is going to be your website. Now you can have a bigger website, you can have more of a narrow website, depends on what your business needs are. But then you have branches. So your blog is technically part of your website, but I'd almost put it in its own branch. Then you might have smaller branches that come off of that branch. Social media would have a lot of branches off of it for like Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that now, YouTube, all that stuff there. But then you might have cold calling, you might have email marketing, you have all that stuff. And where most businesses get it wrong, and a lot of marketing companies and a lot of marketing experts get that wrong, is they don't connect everything together. And I believe everything, or we believe, I think Dean agrees with me.
No, I don't
Everything
think
is
it's all wrong.
everything is one great big huge giant ecosystem, and you have to be able to get the most out of it. So if you write that blog, do that video, you can turn that into email marketing. You can turn that into what parts of your website. You can then have it in your social media. Everything is connected, but if you don't utilize it to its full potential, you're not going to get very far with it.
Right.
I think AI has made that easier to be able to do, and it's also changed to where everything is more connected than it ever has been, especially with how ChatGPT and all these things work.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I love how technical this is going, because in order for you to improve, you have to measure first. Rob, I loved where you plugged in the repurposing part of it. Because if you don't look at the data, so remember, you're posting social content, you're running ads for an end goal in mind. What is that end goal? I want to bring in more leads, or I want to bring in just followers. I don't care about the revenue that it brings, but is it money? Is it followers? Or what is it? What is the KPI? And when you're looking at that KPI, then what are all the inputs that are going in the system? How many pieces of content per day? Which one is performing better on what platform? And then if you're measuring, then you know which one to repurpose 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. Or if you were to create more pieces of content, you would take that as an inspiration and put a twist on it, and then you would go plug in more. So that's, again, and that's where I think AI shines, is think about, for you to be able to hire a data engineer, data miner, a statistician, folks like that. And now you can build automations which are basically monitoring all those metrics for you on a daily, hourly basis. And then every week or every day you wake up, you send yourself a report, completely automated, which tells you which pieces of content perform the best, what are the insights from that. And then you also can reach out to people who have engaged with that pieces of content without spamming everybody, but there are ways to do it. And then you also just leverage all those insights to do that at scale. And that's what we mean when business owners who are not jumping on this now, today, it's going to be hard for them to catch up a year from now because of this reason. Because anybody who's doing this today will have an edge a year from now, because they would have scaled faster. They would have made so many improvements in their system already, which would basically be running on autopilot. They would just be able to move so fast that in a year from now, it'll be hard for you to catch up if you're not doing that today.
It's going to be super hard to be able to catch up, especially when you're talking about organic marketing. Anybody who's focused inside of the organic marketing right now and putting automation to that and building it up is going to be a lot further than somebody that's not. And it doesn't matter what age your business is. It's going to be a huge piece that's there, but you have to put that in there. And the biggest thing you have to remember, in my opinion, for when you're putting AI in place, is you have to put that human factor into it to make it real, because people are looking for things real. I disagree in having, videos of, do double personalities of yourself and reforming yourself to do the videos, because you're not going to get that same human connection inside of there, and they're going to know it's not you. But you have to be able to make that sure that you're inside of there as a real person and bring that human behavior in. How do you look at that as far as human behavior, and how do you make sure that human behavior stays in when you're looking at AI automation? I'm kind of curious.
Oh my gosh, I love that question. So think about this. When technology is so accessible and the tools are that inexpensive that anybody could get their hands on them for a few bucks a month, if anybody can do it, then how do you stand out? Because if anybody can do it, everybody will try to do it.
Right.
then where do you stand? How are you different? So that's where your character diamond comes in. When you try to do things, it's called a character diamond.
I've never
um,
heard of that term. What is that?
really,
I
no
was gonna
kidding.
ask I was going to ask you to define that for me because I've never heard that either.
Okay, because I think I presume because you know Dan. So Dan learned this from someone else. His name is Ryan Dias. He's also been a software guy, like really veteran in that industry, building software products for years and years and years. So character diamond basically means, so just like you and I are talking now, you know a little bit about me, I know a little bit about you. When we try to do things at scale and we go to social media and we post content, it when people have followed you for a year, for a few months, for a few days, what do they know about you? So there are four pieces to the diamond. The first one is your North Star. So anybody who has ever consumed my content, they must know. And if they don't, then it's a problem with my content because I'm not making it super obvious. My North Star is freedom. I am building a business of which would give me and my family uh, freedom of time, money, and location. And that's exactly why I got into AI and automations, because it can help any business owner do the same if they do it well. So my North Star is freedom. Whenever I talk about content, why I do what I do, freedom is always there. Then the second, which is the opposite, diagonal opposite to the North Star, is your kryptonite. Well, this is your North Star, but not everybody can live up to their North Star 100% of the time. You must have some flaws too, right? So, what would that be? So, the second piece is your kryptonite. So, I am a proponent of automating things to build time for other meaningful things in life. But what is my kryptonite is then, where do I go spend that time that I save? I go build more things, but I could have used that time more wisely. So I'm also sort of there, I'm very hardwired to do things. I'm just hardwired that way. So I'm also still struggling with, where do I use that freedom and use it wisely. So that's my exact opposite kryptonite. Now the third corner for that is, what do you do on a daily basis? So for me, it's health is the first system that anybody should take care in their systems of businesses and all those things, right? If you cannot get out of bed, what can you do? So health first for me, which is why I constantly post about running and then eating. I have 80-20 rule of 80% food and then 20% of your workout. So I combine cardio with the strength training that I do. So everybody who follows my content would know that. And the fourth is, what are some of the quirks, like things that you are not proud that you do on a daily basis, but you still do because you're still a human being. So for me, that's when we go to bed with my kids, we love scrolling and finding funny dog videos, dogs and cats. And my kids and I are in bed. We probably do that for 20-30 minutes. And yes, it's not something to be proud of, but I am sort of proud of, because it's how we bond. And we love dogs and cat videos. So if you know me as a human being and you followed my content for a while, these are the four things that would be very obvious to you. So what it does is, you're not just there to sell. And I know that's why we're on social media, but it's also a way for you to connect, because it's never
Right.
B2B, B2C, it's always H to H, it's human to human. And you and I both know we would be more probable to buy from a person who we trust more than anybody else. And that's how you build trust at scale. And the only reason why we are there is because I have like 50 role models on the internet who I follow their content. I just admire where they have come from and now where they are. And if these are the people I want to be like in 10 years from now, that's why I'm consuming their content. Whether I realize it or not, I'm subconsciously becoming like them, or just evolving my personality one day at a time. So there may be people typically do believe, well, who's going to listen to me? What have I done in life that is worth sharing? But you still forget you're unique, not just in DNA, but where you came from and all the experiences you have in life. And when someone who's two steps behind you, they just need to listen to you today, and that's how you're going to impact their life. And maybe they were on the verge of giving up their running their business today, and the algorithm somehow showed your video to them, and they got inspired, and they didn't give up today, and tomorrow again they didn't give up because you shared something, the time that you failed, and they survived. And in a year from now, you will be a little part of their success, whether you know it or not. And that's how I found Dan and Ryan and Tony Robbins and all those people. I remember when I was running my first half marathon last year on Mother's Day, I was listening to Dan's book, the audiobook Buy Back My Time. One of the
Right.
things he said, before you can dream of living the life of Oprah, you have to start protecting your time like Oprah. So, and he doesn't know it, but that has had such a massive impact on who I am today, a year from then. And so that's what I meant by character diamond, because it adds layers. It also, you are a human, you're also showing that side of you, but you're also showing um, why they connect with you at the level they do, which is your North Star and the things that also make you human.
So have you ever, so since you're into that whole running and health area, have you ever went and did his walk where you get to talk to him?
His what?
His walk? Or so he does a whole entire, I guess it'd be a hike. He does a hike.
It's a hike, yes. So I was in Kelowna, BC last year. I was hoping to join, but that day, so I have a big enterprise client. We were supposed to be on their on-prem for some testing that we were doing, but I am in his fitness coaching program. I'm also in his business coaching program,
Cool.
and I'm also in his mindset coaching program. So Dan has had he's one of the biggest influencers in my life for sure.
That's awesome.
So for human behavior, the person I like probably the most for that would be Vanessa Van Edwards. Have you ever followed any of her stuff?
I've that name rings a bell, but I cannot put a face to it. I have to
Um,
look it up.
that one I think you'd probably eat alive.
Yes, you would, very much so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would. I think it would open up all kinds of stuff and thought processes and about the whole entire human of how we interact. She sells herself as being an ex social awkward person, but she does everything. She's done things for the FBI, all kinds of big intelligent pieces of reading people's not just the spoken behavior, but their body language, everything there. Some of her stuff is really cool, so I'd recommend looking at it, especially if you like Dan's stuff.
I love that. Thank you. I'm as soon as we drop off, I'm gonna go look her up.
Yeah, that's a good one inside of there. I remember the whole entire. I don't remember being the diamond connector inside of Dan's stuff, but I remember that analogy that's inside of there. And everybody has their kryptonite. And a lot of I think business owners in general, their biggest thing is they're unsure about what to do. They don't know where to start, and they don't know. They're afraid that they're going to make a mess or they're going to make a mistake along the way. Do you find that a lot inside of your sales process for working with these businesses?
Oh, absolutely. I was on a podcast 3 weeks ago. One of the very similar question we talked about, and my response to that is, I think each one of us is responsible for our own actions, and that's where extreme ownership comes from. So I always say, if you go look for red, you'll find red. If you go look for blue, you'll go find blue. And the reason why I say that is if you are running a business, it is your moral responsibility to figure out where the bottlenecks are. And then, am I going to survive them or not? Once you start from that mindset, then am I looking for problems or solutions? Am I the first person who's running a business who's dealing with this problem? Most likely not. And that's why my strategy is I go find the person who's there where I want to be. And before that, I have to figure out a goal. So, goal first. Second, who's there where I want to be. Third, I just go pay them so they can give me the blueprint and I just follow the path. So that's three. And none of them would happen if I didn't have the mindset of, oh my gosh, we have a problem. I have to solve it. Right? So you seek first before the signs start appearing to you. And when I try to sell something or I get on discovery calls or sales calls, if they book a call with me, but then they are hesitant that they're not ready yet, I have to start peeling the onion if they're interested and if they're still on the call with me, and then really go to the bottom of what are we really talking about? Is this a money problem? Is this something else? So once you start with, I have a bottleneck problem, I have to go find a person who can help me, that's only when the change happens. But if they're just so adamant that they don't have a problem or they don't want to see it, then unfortunately, it we may not be the best person to help them because they don't have an open mind to look for solutions. They're still stuck in, I have a problem, but I'm not really sure if I need help. Or they just don't want to see where the problem is. And if they don't identify, if we don't together identify the problem, I can have 10 solutions in my back pocket, but I may not be the best person to help them.
No, I totally agree. It's one of those things to where there's a lot that's inside of there, and there's ways to be able to do it. You have to spend some money to be able to do it. Some solutions are cheaper than others, and you have to kind of work your way through that whole entire process. When you are working with businesses, what's the typical what does your ideal customer look like for your side? What kind of businesses are you working with?
Yeah. So typically we work with anybody who's a million to 3 million or above ARR. And the reason why that is because they have every business has problems that AI can solve. But if they are at that level already, um, they have the growing pains that AI is equipped to solve. And second, since they have those pains and they are at that level, that's where business owners sort of try to get in their own way because they see that growth is coming, but they're not ready for it and it scares them. And with the AI, given how much time I can save them and how much revenue we can bring them, because with AI, we're going to be doing things on scale. It just they become our perfect target ICP. So that's we haven't niched down per se for now, but we may get there in almost a year from now, based on where we are going and the type of problems we're solving. Because then it would also be easier for us to scale if we have a certain types of automations and we're just rinsing and repeating them.
No, that totally makes sense. So if you were going to advise somebody or give someone some advice that was not at your ideal, customer profile, they were in that small business or that startup mode and they're looking to be able to take some of that weight off their shoulders with AI, is there any advice that you would give them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you have to, this is the part where you need to listen because I've made this mistake more than anybody else who's listening to me. As a business owner, you have to put a dollar amount to your hour, or minute. That's your worth. And anytime you find yourself doing a task which is significantly lower than that, you don't want to do it. It's not in your best interest. It's actually causing your business money by you having to go check your email, which could be a $10 an hour task. Versus if you're a business owner and let's say hypothetically your hourly rate is 500, then why would you go check your email? That's a perfect opportunity for you to come to us or to anybody else and either hire an EA, or we could build an automation for you which will look in your email inbox and it'll categorize those emails for you, and it'll only send you an alert for an email that needs a response from you, and everything else just can sit there and wait. So if you value your time more than money, money will come to you, but you have to start valuing your time today. For anybody who wants to grow their business, it's not very super technical advice, but that's where how I would start, because it's always in any area of your life, it's always mindset first, action later. If you have the mindset to be a runner, only then you'll go sign up for a race, and only then you'll go train for a half marathon. If you have the mindset of I am the CEO, where is my time best spent, only then you'll only choose the task that light you up and also print you money, and then delegate everything else.
No, that's a great point, though, what you just said about the value of your time. I think most small business owners miss that point. They're so busy trying to keep their fingers in everything that they don't let go of the things that they don't need to be involved with. Because if you're not being creative and making the business, then that really holds you back. And that's really a great point. And I think a lot of business owners miss on that topic a lot as far as what they should be doing.
And they self-sabotage in that aspect, Dean. They'll get in their mindset, they'll think they're the best to be able to do all of that, and sometimes letting go. And I guarantee all three of us, I know I have been guilty of that, to where I thought I was the best person always to be able to handle those tasks. And I mean, it's easier to go down that road than it is to let go of that road and just hope that it's going to come together and be able to teach that process. And because as a business owner, you try to self-soothe yourself and make yourself, feel like you're way up here all the time, and you aren't necessarily that way.
And I think, and absolutely, Rob, once you let that ego part go off, that gives you so much freedom. You start to accept 80% done by someone else is way better than 100% done by yourself. Second, it gives you time and mindset to start putting SOPs together, because you'll have to hire someone else to do it, and they can't follow unless you have a plan. And third, you could go sit on the beach and your business will not fall apart in 2 weeks. Who doesn't want that?
So one of the other things that happens with small business owners, they don't listen to their own employees. I just recently went through this, and my employees said, Dean, you need to quit doing this. We have it covered. You go do the other things that we need you to do. And internally, you have people that can advise you if you're willing to open your mind and listen to them a little bit, because they told me to quit doing quotes. We've got the quotes handled. Just don't do that. We need you here. And so I think that's a really good point too, that you actually internally in your businesses have people that see this as well, if you're willing to open your mind a little bit as well to help you. And then they might even direct you into the AI pieces as, in addition to that. So
absolutely.
Well,
And I think
that's where you have to give your staff the freedom to be able to communicate back over to you. And sometimes that's a really hard thing for staff to be able to do, to be able to say, I can come up with something. Now, don't bring me a problem if you don't have a solution for it. An idea to the solution is always been my philosophy. But if you see something that can be done in a better way, or there's a new piece of software, especially in today's world, bring it up. But don't just bring me a problem, but bring me a solution with that problem. Be like, this is what I'm seeing.
right.
And sorry for interrupting you.
No. So I think it's also, again, when you're running a business and you hire people on your team, you also want to look at where they want to go in their career. If you don't let them make those decisions today, you're also sort of preventing them from getting in the direction that's in their best interest.
right, because they want to grow as well. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, you forget that you're not the only one in the business. That there's other people that you have to be making sure that they're growing with you and they're going to stay with you. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have a young man that's been with me now for almost 20 years. So, and that doesn't happen a lot in industry, but we've given him the ability to grow and to develop and go where he wants to go. And you have to be open-minded enough to help with that as well.
Absolutely.
And you have to realize that you're not, Dean wrote a blog a long time ago, and we bring this up all the time. He wrote a blog that he never published. I wish he would have, about how most business owners have narcissistic behavior, or that they're narcissists, which I agree with. At some point, all of us are kind of had that narcissistic behavior. Most of us have ADHD, especially if you're inside of anything software related. And you have to be able to get out of yourself and be able to look at how the business is going to run without you. Because if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, you want those systems in place so your family can move on with your company and it's sellable. And that's coming from my side of buying and selling businesses in the VC world. A lot of business owners don't build a business, they build a job for themselves. And once you build a job for yourself, you don't have anything of value really to sell, because once you're out of it, there's nothing there all the time. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as you kind of build your business as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree there.
So if anybody is interested in being able to work with you and being able to set up those automations for their business, what's the best way of contacting you? What does that look like? And just kind of go through and tell us all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're all on social media platforms. We can be found on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel where I'm regularly posting now, and there'll be lots of tutorials and lots of live demos that I'm going to be doing in the next few days, just to give you a very tangible example of, if you're running a business of sort so and so, then this is the first automation or the top 5 you need today. So that's also going to go on YouTube, but there's a lot of material already there. I also run an AI First CEO newsletter. The reason why I started that is, as I was talking to business owners, again, it was a mindset issue. 3 problems I heard. I have no idea what AI can do for me. I have no idea where to start. And do I need a technical team to do it? And let's say I hire you to do it. What happens after you're gone? All those things. And what type of automations does my business need? All those topics plus the mindset. I send a weekly issue every Friday morning, 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And then it goes out on a weekly basis. So that's also anybody who's not ready for AI today, but they just want to follow along the journey, that's also available. And my website URL is www.codenixai.com, or you could just DM me on any of those platforms and I would love to talk.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I think there's a lot of the world of AI that's fascinating. I'm really kind of excited to see where we end up in the next probably 18 months, I think, is the number that I'm going to give it before it kind of gets to that natural state of where we're going to see it and kind of see what kind of opportunities are going to come from. And then we'll see another boom that ends up happening later on when they bring out the quantum computing, if they end up releasing that.
Absolutely.
I mean, because that seems to be on the fence right now, if it's going to be released or not released. Everybody has it, and I'm just waiting to see who pulls that trigger first, but that'll open a whole new world.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us today. And everybody who's listening, make sure that you know that we put out our podcast once a day, Monday through Friday. So, yeah. And you can check us out at simplybefound.com. But thank you so much for being our guest. Dean, anything you want to say to finish?
No, I actually learned so much with the two of you talking technical, because I'm more of the small business guy kind of thing. So I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. I really appreciate it. Thank you.